Hello crafty friends! It's Alicia here with a project for Tailored Expressions. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a pair of spooky cute Halloween cards with a little added sparkle. These cards will feature the new Around Town Halloween layering stencil set and cutting plate, as well as the new Haunted Hello stamp set with coordinating dies. And to help set the scene on these cards, I got out the 8.5 by 11 Around Town Designer Stencil. For cardstocks, I'll be using Plum Punch, Sugar Cube, and Earl Grey. And to add a little extra texture to the cards, I will be stenciling onto the TE Woodgrain cardstock in white. And speaking of stenciling, the colors I'll be using today are Plum Punch, Candy Corn, Spearmint, and Earl Grey, and I also got out the coordinating blender brushes. To help me get a good impression while stamping, I will be using the TE exclusive Teal Misti and the Just Press tool. I got out a variety of adhesives to hold everything together, and I'll be adding a little sparkle with some TE orange glitter drip drops. Let's get crafty! I'm going to get started by stenciling the Around Town Halloween layering set. I will be using Candy Corn, Plum Punch, and Earl Grey on these layers. For layer number 1, I did choose Candy Corn. Ahead of time, I tacked a piece of Sugar Cube cardstock down onto the grid paper placemat. And now I'm just going to get my first stencil laid in place, and I'm going to temporarily hold that with some removable labeling tape. When I stencil, I like to get my brush loaded up, and then I use clockwise and counterclockwise motions until I fill in all of the open areas. I just feel like this is the best way to get all of that ink off your blending bristles before you have to go and load it up again. A super handy feature of this stenciling set are the square alignment guides in the corners, so I did make sure to fill those in as well before I moved on to the second stencil. For stencil number 2, I will be using Plum Punch ink, and again I'm going to start by lining it up with those alignment squares, but sometimes you do have to wiggle it just a little bit, and then I'm going to use those same pieces of removable labeling tape to hold it in place. I'm going to use the same process to add ink to the second layer, and while I do that, I would love to know what 3 colors from Tailored Expressions would you choose to use with this layering stencil set. Let me know down in that comment section below. I can't wait to read about your color combos. For stencil number 3, I chose to use Earl Grey ink. I thought that this would be a nice alternative to Oreo. It's still dark enough to show up over areas that already have color, but it's not quite that solid, darker black color. And now it's time for my favorite part, the big reveal. I just love all of these spooky, cute images. I have a little more stenciling and ink blending to do, and that is with the Around Town Designer Stencil. Like I mentioned in the intro, I wanted to add a little extra texture to this, so I got out a piece of the white wood grain cardstock from Tailored Expressions. Now this does only go behind 2 of them, so if you liked one at the top and one on the bottom, you would just cut this piece in half. I did decide to go with the bottom 2 scenes, so I just lined up that wood grain cardstock with the bottom half of my stencil. I again am holding that in place with some removable labeling tape, and now for this I will be using Spearmint ink. I thought this was kind of a nice grassy color, and because of that texture on that cardstock, it gives it more of a grassy feel or look. It's not just a solid green. Now because of that, you might have to add a little more ink to your blending brush since it has that texture to get the areas filled in. But here is a look at that final piece stenciled, and I just love that texture. Let me know in that comment section below if you have ever ink blended or stenciled onto wood grain cardstock. To cut out all of those cute images, I took this piece off camera with the coordinating cutting plate, and now I have plenty of images for multiple cards. Off camera, I cut down my background scenes to their final size of 4 by 5¼ inches, and I also played around with which of the cute Halloween images I wanted on each piece and the layout that I liked. And on screen now in front of you is what I decided on, and I am just adhering these flat down onto the grass or the street scene. You could definitely use foam tape and pop up all of these pieces or a couple on each card, but for now I'm going to keep it nice and flat. You do see at the top of my grid paper placemat that I have some leftover images, and I actually end up using most of those later on to decorate the insides, which I will be showing you. Off camera, I prepared 2 top-folding Earl Grey card bases, and on the inside, to make my personal message easier to read, I did add a piece of sugar cube that is 3¾ by 5 inches. You might notice there's a little hint of green at the bottom of that piece, and that's because I used the leftover ink on my Spearmint blending brush to add just a little bit of color. To add my scenes to the front of the cards, I am once again keeping them flat and using tape runner, and you'll see that there's an 1/8 inch border all the way around, so you get a little peek of that Earl Grey, which ties in that stenciling on the front. For the sentiments on today's cards, I chose Haunted Hello and Creepin' It Real, and I'm just going to stamp these onto a scrap of sugar cube cardstock with the Earl Grey ink. Once I have those in place and inked up, I am going to use the Just Press tool to help get a nice crisp impression on the sentiments. I used a coordinating die set to cut both of those out, and I also cut a copy in the Plum Punch cardstock. I'm going to add these to the back of the sentiments, offset just a little bit, and this adds a nice shadow and helps it pop up off the background of the card. And speaking of popping up off the background, I did add some foam tape to the back of these for some dimension on the cards. Now, once I have that release paper pulled, I do like to go ahead and put some liquid glue on the back of the foam tape so that when I go to put it on the card front, I have a little bit of wiggle time to get it adjusted before I press it down completely. Once both of the sentiments were in place, I brought back in some of the leftover images, and now I'm going to show you how I decorated the inside. Again, there's that hint of green at the bottom, so it's like another little grassy area, and on one of the cards over on the right, I put the 2 pumpkin images, and then on the card on the left, I put the little black cat and the trick-or-treaters. Let me know in the comment section below how often you decorate the insides of your cards. To finish off the cards and add a little bit of sparkle, I got out the TE Glitter Drip Drops in orange and added some to the front of each card. And here are some close-up looks at the finished pair. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today's video. If you enjoyed the process, a thumbs up is appreciated. And if you're not already a subscriber, we do hope you'll click on the button below so you're the first to know about our latest videos. To find out more about the products I used today, you can check out the links in the description box below or visit the Tailored Expressions online store at tailoredexpressions.com.